This programme is powered by Hankook tyres, Autosportinsurance.com, and Magla. Create your own digital magazine. Hello and welcome to the TT circuit of Assen for the hugely popular Gamma Racing Days. Round 5 of the Supercar Challenge powered by Hankook. We reach the halfway point of the 2018 season with the championship battles as tight as ever. We'll take a look at all the action in GT, Supersport 1 and 2 and Sport. In GT, the championship leaders are Michael Verhagen and Willem Meyer, just 13 points behind them. On the right, Baschouten, and on the left, Vard Slice. They dropped away from the leaders because of problems in the previous round at Zandvoort. They know every mistake can have major consequences because the winner gets 23 points. The BMW M4 Silhouette drivers move closer to the leader, driving a similar car by scoring 1 point for pole position. Their 8th pole 6/10 faster than the second car on the grid, which is Michael Verhagen and Willem Meyer. So the championship contenders front and centre. Best of Porsches, Bob Herber, start number 106. He's 5th in the championship, only 16 points behind the leaders. It is that close. His teammate Dan Meyer's next to him, also with a second generation Porsche GT3 Cup car. Turkish driver Cenk Sesakar is 3rd in the championships, tied with Vard Slice and Baschouten, but with fewer wins he shares with Jeffrey van Hooijdonk. Nervous moments for the Supersport 1 Championship leaders Dennis de Boerst and Stan van Oord. They take pole to move 2 points clear of teammate René Steinmetz, but there are problems with the dash display. Fortunately, the team solved them. They can start the first race of the weekend. Dennis de Boerst starts next to the pole sitters in Supersport 2, Bart and Joop Aronson in their BMW 1 Series GTR V8. At the back, we find the sports class with local driver Henk Teppel on pole. The problems with his silhouette have finally been solved. Heading to the rolling start with Edward Graals, brother Roger in front of him, the other orange and black car further forward. That's 3rd place Bob Herber. Picking up speed and charging down to the first corner. The BMW silhouettes with less power being swamped by the Porsches. Trying to find a hole, Bob Herber takes the lead. On the inside, Baschouten in 2nd, just ahead of Roger Graals. Oh, contact, John de Wilde in too deep. Dan Meyer, I think Meyer got away with it. Around the outside for 3rd place, Jeffrey van Hooijdonk challenging Roger Graals, but can't get through. Dennis de Boerst has lost the lead in Supersport, but Bob Herber leads from Baschouten. Roger Graals in 3rd place. We're on board with Willem Meyer in the 2nd of the silhouettes, right behind Dan Meyer's Porsche. And Baschouten really piling the pressure on race leader Bob Herber, chased by Roger Graals. Graals too deep into Steckenbal, loses it. Change for the lead in front of him. He's dropped down to 4th, 5th, 6th position as the GT field swamps him. Oh, make that 7th place. In Supersport 2, this is Nicolas Delonge, race 2 winner last time out at Zandvoort. He's got brake problems, and that includes this spin at the gate. Timmy chicane, no damage, he continues. Joop Aronson ends up in trouble as well. Looks like he's hit one of the tyre stacks on the inside of some of the corners. Koopman Racing doing a good job fixing the bodywork up quickly so he can continue, but he has lost a lap. Dennis de Boerst leads the Supersport 1 class after Jan van der Kooi retired early on. He needs to push on. He's got 30 result seconds to add to his mandatory pit stop time. René Steinmetz 2nd in the championship in the red and white Supra. Down the inside at Harbach, taking 2nd in the race for Marcel van der Maat, who lies 3rd in the championship in the orange BMW. Sport class leader Henk Teppel in a league of his own. He lives nearby. The TT circuit of Assen holds no secrets from him. The battle for 2nd is hot. Rob Neiman in front, Chris Voet and Bart van der Broek, the defending champions. Just 3 points between them. They need to finish in front of him. Into the mandatory pit stops, Jeffrey van Hooijdonk out of the car. Cenk Sesakar gets in. His car still not repaired after the heavy shunt last time out at Zandvoort. With only 5 result seconds, he picks up time in the pit stops. Certainly compared to the BMW silhouette drivers, Willem Meyer and Michael Verhagen. The championship leaders have 20 success seconds, so they end up behind the Porsche after the pit stops, and worse is still to come for the points leaders. Well, we decided to do an early pit stop. Then when I came out for my stint, I noticed there was no grip at the front of the car. I was having to deal with massive understeer. And it was a battle really between me and the car. And of course, that never gets much better. We also had to come in for a drive-through, left the pit lane a bit too early. So hopefully things will be better tomorrow. A golden opportunity for Supercar, third in the points to make up ground, but he gets it all wrong at Hankook, spins it away, and while the points leaders finish 8th, he's only in 10th, so he actually loses ground to them. And Vaartsluis and Bascouten should be able to take advantage, but there are worried faces at JR Motorsport. After around 10 minutes of my stint, I heard a loud bang coming from the rear of the car, says Vaartsluis. I noticed something felt wrong with the drivetrain, so all I could do is try and do the best lap times I could. Every time I shifted gear, though, things got worse. So we think the differential might be broken. We're going to have to check that tonight. Felt like the longest race ever, even though it was just 30 minutes. But we've lost ground again to the championship leaders. Hopefully we'll score proper points tomorrow. Vaart and Bas drop down to 9th place and lose 2 spots in the standings. So it's the battle for the GT lead between the Porsches of Dan Meyer 107 and Bob Herber 106. Both have 0 result seconds and they charge hard towards the checkered flag. Bob Herber moves through to take the lead. Son Dan looking anxious behind the white pit box line because he can't see the screens or hear from the crew what's going on. But with just 7 minutes remaining, it's Dan Meyer who comes back through to retake the lead of the race. And it's a lead he will not surrender before the checkered flag. He claims his first race win, 0.2 of a second ahead of Bob Herber. It's the first 1-2 also for Boda Racing, ahead of Porsche driver Roger Graals. First 20 minutes I could really keep up a good pace, says Dan Meyer, stayed close to the leader. After the pit stops I was delayed by a few sport class cars. Bob closed the gap. Team told me over the radio to let him go. Alright, okay, but I wasn't going to make it easy. That way though we created a gap to our rivals. Then I could chase Bob and he got held up by some sport guys. So out of the gate, Timmy Chicane, I got by him and never gave it up again. He's my mate, but I wanted to win. 1-2 is great as well. A little bit short on engine power here, but still an amazing race. I managed to get by Dan, but in the end I got stuck behind a sport car and there was even a little touch. These things happen. Roger Graal said, I'll eat you alive tomorrow. Yeah, well, we'll have cake. We'll have cake today as well. What a great race. It was fun. Well, Bob Herber scores best of the title contenders in race 1, moves up 3 spots to 2nd in the GT rankings, now just 3 points behind leaders Michael Verhagen and Willem Meyer. His son is happy with that as well. John de Wilde finishing 5th in race 1 is now 3rd in the championship, only 8 points behind the leaders, with Vaartsluis and Bascouten now 14 points behind in 4th place. Supercar also losing ground. Stan van Oord waiting for Dennis de Boers to come in for the mandatory pit stops in Supersport 1. The championship leaders have maximum result seconds, 30 in total, so they can't afford any mistakes. They're just 2 points ahead of René Steenmetz, their teammate and closest rival. But when he comes in for his stop, he's complaining about noises from the engine bay. The team examine everything, can't find a problem. As the championship leaders head off, Steenmetz is going to lose a lap, finishing only in 9th place, meaning he's now 20 points adrift. After the stops, Benjamin Vandenberg in the BMW who shares with brother Robert, 4th in the championships, has the race lead. But the Seat driver is not to be reined in. After a fierce battle, he gets by to grab the lead, and the Seat heads on to its 3rd win of the season. Max Vels and Jackie van der Ende passed the Vandenberg BMW near the end of the race to take 2nd in race 1. The factory upgrades on the Cupra TCR are clearly paying off for Dennis de Boers and Stan van Oord. The reigning champions and championship leaders in Supersport 1 having a clean race. After a while I could open up a gap to rivals, said Dennis. I heard over the radio we had a 16-second lead over Robert Vandenberg, so then I saved the tyres and started short shifting so Stan would get a good car. A very intense battle near the end. To be honest, Benjamin came out of the pit lane ahead, but I was already warmed up so I could really overtake him quite quickly. From that moment on it was just keeping the car in one piece and bringing it home for victory. Yep, and Bart Aronson take the checkered flag in Supersport 2, despite an extra pit stop for damage, but they pick up a time penalty post-race. The actual winners are championship leaders Patrick de Vrede and Roger Delot. No dramas in sport for Henk Teppel. Making no mistakes, he claims his first win of the season here on his home track, ahead of Rob Neiman, who keeps the championship lead, while third place goes to Chris Voet and Bart Vandenbroek. Quite a demanding race, says local car dealer Henk Teppel. I was happy that I had some water to drink in the pit stops. After the pit stops, all I had to do was keep the tyres in a good condition and finish the race in first place. That's what I did. Coming up next, race 2 of the Supercar Challenge powered by Hankook from the TT circuit of Assen. This programme is powered by Hankook Tyres, Autosportinsurance.com, and Magla. Create your own digital magazine. Second race day, round 5 of the Supercar Challenge powered by Hankook at the TT circuit of Assen. Race 1 winner in GT was Dan Meyer. Teammate Bob Herber finished hot on his heels in second, closing the gap in the championship to just 3 points to the current leaders Willem Meyer and Michael Verhagen. Well, the men who were their closest rivals, Vard Slijs and Bas Schouten. Schouten starting from 9th pole of the season, also 9th place in race 1, unfortunately, after mechanical problems with the differential. Michael Verhagen will line up in second place in his BMW Silhouette. Still the points leader, but he also had problems in race 1. They finished only 8th, losing a handful of points. And Bob Herber, the best of the first generation Porsche 991 GT3 drivers, he knows this place inside out. Second in race 1, he's third on the grid. Roger Graz with the latest generation Porsche, a little more power, he starts in 4th. In Supersport 1, Dennis de Borst claims pole position. The race 1 winners lead the championship now by 20 points. Second in the class, Benjamin Vandenberg. 4th in the championship, but now 50 points adrift. Peter Schroers lies 3rd in the standings and 3rd on the grid. He's 29 points behind. And René Steenmetz, 2nd in the standings, now 20 points adrift, starts in 4th place in Supersport 1. And as ever, at the hugely popular Gamma Racing Days, the grandstands are absolutely heaving. It's a full house, ready for 50 minutes of action in the Supercar Challenge powered by Hankook Race 2. Bas Schouten pacing the field from Michael Verhagen, then the Porsches, Bob Herber and Roger Graz, Dan Meyer, and in 6th place in the borrowed car, St. Car, ahead of Edward Graz, John de Wilde and Bas Barenberg. The BMW Silhouettes, with only 3.2 litres this year, lose out in raw horsepower to the Porsches at the rolling start. Michael Verhagen on the left tried to keep the door closed. Bob Herber coming through anyway. Verhagen moves back online. Bas Schouten. Schouten the poleman going very slowly. Everybody's falling over him. It's Bob Herber that leads from Roger Graz. Round the outside goes Michael Verhagen. Big mistake from John de Wilde. Goes off on the outside this time. No spin for him. And still battling is Michael Verhagen, trying to go around the outside of Roger Graz. There's Bas Schouten. Battle for the lead. Bob Herber around the outside. Michael Verhagen. Now that becomes the inside here in the left-hander. Can he hang on? Yes, he does. He takes the lead. Bob Herber battling with Roger Graz for second. And that's real trouble for Bas Schouten and Vard Slijs with that differential problem in race 1. Has it reappeared? Dan Meyer having a look. Down the inside for a second, he can't stop, surely, and just misses the leader and the tyre stack, my goodness. Well, Dan Meyer with real problems there, but even worse, into the pits, Bas Schouten. They can ill afford this drama.
Ja, de auto was weer gerepareerd na gisteren. We hadden gisteren...
Team fixed the car after our problems yesterday. It turned out to be a clutch issue, so they changed the clutch, of course. But at the start of the race, the gearbox was stuck in second. I managed to get the car back in. Right in the back, there's a cylinder that controls the upshifts, and the connecting rod was disconnected. So the team fixed that up together. We could continue, but at that point, we're a lap and a half behind, so really impossible to make up for lost time. One tiny mistake by the team, so costly in terms of time, but with all the other dramas, actually they end up finishing 6th. In Supersport 1, Peter Schroers taking the lead, but GT driver Martin Lanting hit by René Steenmetz on lap 1 at Ruskenhoek. Martin Lanting coming in with a bent exhaust pipe, but he does continue. However, for Rennie Steinmetz, the race is over. The former points leader, who had the championship advantage coming here, is now miles away from being able to take the title. Back to the lead battle, Peter Scheuer's in the BMW. And right behind is Dennis de Boerst, the reigning champions, leading the standings coming in here. Master van der Marten, Peter Scheuer's in third place, but 29 points behind. They need to stay in front, but can't. And through goes the Seat. Here's the battle for third. Benjamin van der Berg in the BMW 3 Series with Jonas de Kimper in the Golf and Max Vels behind in the Cupra TCR. The Van der Bergs fourth in the championship, 50 points behind the leaders, and dropping down the order as the front-wheel drive cars really excel here in Assen. Max Vels now looking for fourth place. It's not a great weekend for Robert and Benjamin van den Berg in their BMW. Down to fifth position. And they're not the only ones having a nightmare. Nicolas Deloncre, a broken engine mounting, damaging a fuel line and causing a fire, putting him out of race 2 in Supersport 2. Bob Herber leading the GT class. Battle for second. Dan Meyer, the white and green Porsche, and Roger Graals who goes through. Meyer losing ground. Up to third is Michael Verhagen. Right now, though, Bob Herber taking the lead of the championship as things stand. Dan Meyer chasing Bob Herber. Roger Graals has already got through for the lead. Herber in second place, but looks to be struggling with tyre grip. Yellow flags out ahead. Dan Meyer can't go through, but he does. That's Nicolas Deloncre being rescued from the gravel. Well, Dan Meyer goes through into second. Bob Herber in third. Trouble for the speed lover Porsche. This is Vincent Despret. Looks like he's hit a tyre stack and broken right front suspension. He's out. And he's not the only one. Our second Turkish Porsche driver is in. The DVB racing car has mechanical problems. He's out of the race. Battle for third place. Bob Herber losing out to Edward Graals. Bas Barenberg, an old Supercar Challenge driver from the early days, is right there as well. And he'll be next up to attack Bob Herber for fourth place. Down in fifth, Bob Herber now trying to get back by Michael Verhagen in the BMW down into hard box. It's very tight here, got to avoid the tyre stack, and outbrakes himself, hits the BMW in the rear. They both go around. Bob Herber continues, and so too does the BMW silhouette and Michael Verhagen. Back on track, the championship leaders, but there is something wrong with the BMW. Look at it, it's all over the road, steering from that left rear. He's out of the race with damaged suspension.
Ja, echt heel zuur.
It's a really bitter pill to swallow. Bob Herber scoring points. He continued. I think we've dropped a second or third, I don't know. It's a horrible weekend, not what we were hoping for, and it's all ended in tears. Trouble too for Bob Herber at the pit stops though. The team struggling to get the left rear wheel off. Now, everybody's allocated 12 Hankook tyres for the weekend. Porsche teams are allowed to change tyres during the race if they want to, because they're higher tyre wear. Doesn't mean you get fresh tyres, they might be fresher. Well, Herber rejoins for his second stint, but 5 laps down near the end of the race, he comes to a halt finally, and the race is over, as is his hope of taking the championship lead. Battery light came on after pit stops. I knew I was in trouble. Everything stopped working in the end because there's no power, so no paddle shift and no engine. Dan Meyer, with 5 result seconds less than Roger Graals, closes the gap but makes an error passing Supersport 2 runners, bumps into Edward Graals, who was in 4th place at the time as they battled for second. Dan Meyer and Edward Graals both out of the race. Porsche's falling all over the place. That means John de Vilder leads the GT class, heading towards his 3rd win of the season. Benjamin van der Berg checking out the front tyres of the Supersport 1 BMW. Turns out there was oil leaking onto the tyres. They have 25 result seconds fewer than de Boerst and Van Oord, 5 fewer than Vels and Van der Ende. But De Kimper and Spelman have none in the Golf, so Priscilla Spelman is the leader after pit stops from Marcel van der Marten second, and this battle for third. Robert van den Berg with Stan Van Oord hot on his heels. Van Oord trying to go the long way round the outside for third. That doesn't work, but it opens the door for Jackie van der Ende, who's right behind. He slips by into 4th position. But Stan Van Oord counterattacks immediately, cutting back underneath. Up to 4th, and once again starting to attack the BMW. And when Vandenberg makes a mistake, Van Oord pounces immediately through into third place, leaving the BMW driver to deal with Jackie van der Ende. And Van Oord just checks out immediately. He is gone. Well, van der Ende looking for a way through. And as we saw in race 1, the BMW's struggling against the front drive TCR spec cars. The Cupras are starting to gain traction here. Marcel van der Maat still in second though, behind Priscilla Spellman in her Golf TCR. Stan van Oord right on his heels. Stan van Oord with Dennis de Boerst leading the championship coming into this race from René Steenmetz. Marcel van der Maat and Peter Schroers in the orange BMW third, trying to make sure that Van Oord couldn't get through, but he finds the room anyway. The championship leaders are absolutely flying. Priscilla Spellman, the race leader in Supersport 1, and through goes Stan van Oord. The championship leaders are in sparkling form in Assen. John de Wilde was 5th in race 1, but victorious here in race 2, his 3rd win for Speed Lover Motorsport. My first time here in Assen, so it's a steep learning curve, and I took too many risks at the start yesterday. Today I took it easy on the tyres, stayed with the leaders up to the pit stops. With 0 result seconds, I knew I'd do okay. I took it easy after the stops, but Roger Gras was closing the gap fast, just 3 or 4 seconds behind me. But he got a drive through, so that was lucky for me. And then I could cruise, well, sort of, to the finish line. Great fun. John de Wilde winning from Bas Barenberg with Senk Sessikar in 3rd place, and what a change that's made to the standings. John de Wilde now the championship leader from Bob Herber. Michael Verhagen Willem Meyer tied with Senk Sessikar 3rd and 4th, ahead of Vaardsluis and Bas Schouten. Far less topsy-turvy in Supersport 1, Dennis de Boerst and Stan van Oord taking their 4th win of the season. Jackie van der Ende 3rd at the line, but was penalised for exceeding track limits, dropping him down to 4th with Max Fails. Jonas de Kimper and Priscilla Spellman finishing in 2nd. But it's a double race winning weekend in Assen for our defending champions.
Ja, ongelooflijk, weet je. Perfect weekend.
Unbelievable. Perfect weekend. We started just 1 point ahead of René Steenmetz, took pole for both races. Won race 1 with ease. Race 2 a bit nerve-wracking because anything can happen, but we did it again. Won race 2 as well. Perfect. Dennis de Boerst and Stan van Oord now comfortable leaders in the standings from Marcel van der Maat and Peter Schroers. René Steenmetz drops to 3rd ahead of Robert and Benjamin Vandenberg. In sport, Sandra van der Slot, who dropped out of race 1 with a broken oil cooler, has problems having to start from the pit lane as the oil filler cap is missing from the engine. She catches up quickly and with 0 result seconds. Championship leader Rob Neiman is down in 5th place, behind Chris Vert and Bart Vandenbroek. Bart Drost leading in the Clio ahead of Henk Teppel. But they collide in Steckenval. Bart Drost out of the race. Henk Teppel gets no penalty for the collision and takes the lead. Sandra van der Slot in the Alfa now under pressure from Bart Vandenbroek for 2nd place, which she loses in the closing stages. The Peugeot drivers scoring vital points towards their championship defence. Henk Teppel claims double victory here at Assen in the sport class. Chris Vogt and Bart Vandenbroek in 2nd, Sandra van der Slot in 3rd place in the Alfa. And she worked hard for that.
Alles of niks voor mij, 100%.
I gave it everything. That's the only way to do it, all or nothing. I tried to score as many points as possible. I think it's important to show the team that they hadn't worked all night to fix the car for nothing. The sport class is fast boiling down into a 2-horse race. 1 point separating leader Rob Neiman and defending champions Chris Vogt and Bart Vandenbroek. As on Saturday, Joop and Bart Aronson's blue BMW crosses the line first in Supersport 2, but this time they hold on to the win as there is no time penalty. Second, Cor Oyser and Kees Lubbers. 3rd place, championship leaders Patrick de Vrede and Roger Delot. And that means they'll be champions in Supersport 2 if they finish the next race at Spa-Francorchamps. That's it for the Gamma Racing Days 2018 in Assen. Next time out for the Supercar Challenge powered by Hankook at the Racing Festival at Spa-Francorchamps the last weekend in September. See you there. This program is powered by Hankook Tyres, Autosportinsurance.com, and Magla. Create your own digital magazine.